scared to close my eyes. I'm scared to open them. I'm gonna die out here.
Welcome back to SledgeHammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I am joined by the amazing Emma, aka Spookyastronauts. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing so well. I stumbled upon Emma when I was going through YouTube, watching some Haunting of Bly Manor videos, and I absolutely fell in love with her channel. For those of you that don't know, Emma is an Australian-based movie enthusiast with a focus on the horror genre. Good head on her shoulders. Emma's background lies in film and television, working as an editor on international and local television programs for the past decade. She's been reviewing film since 2015 on her YouTube channel, Spookyastronauts. She's also a certified Rotten Tomatoes critic, has a love for all dark film. The more disturbing, the better. Now, the cool thing about all this, you don't have to go searching about anything for Emma because I have brought it to you. All her links are right down here in the description. Make sure you're giving her a follow on social media. Make sure that you are subscribing to her channel on YouTube. I promise you'll enjoy it. I have the bell on for her notification, so make sure you do that as well. Emma, what can you tell us a little bit about yourself that the people may not know about you?
Oh my God, straight off the bat. I'm not I mean, I guess a lot of people know me for liking horror, but I like all genres, and I also love thrillers, but I think that goes hand in hand with horror as well.
Sure.
But I'm really into psychological movies, so I guess that's where the disturbing aspect comes in with the thriller and the horror. So I guess that's, yeah, I don't know if people know that or not.
Well, and the funny thing about it is, I feel like the first horror movie we watch, we more drift towards that type of movie in the future with our horror films. Like I started with House in 1986, and I feel like emotional horror comedy is probably my favorite. You just talked about your favorite type of horror movie. So let's dive in and go back to the past for a second, Emma. Let's talk about the movie that got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie, and your first horror movie was?
Well, my first, I guess, complete horror movie would have been Blair Witch, but like my first, like glimpse into it would have been Leprechaun.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because those are two complete opposite movies, and
Yeah.
I could talk about either one. And like I said, I'm glad that you got a little bit of taste with Leprechaun, but with the Blair Witch Project, this is a movie that is so iconic because it came out before Google was readily available in your pocket. So you couldn't just go and look, was this movie real? I remember leaving the theater like, holy shit, did that really happen? Like, what is going on? That was terrifying. So do you remember how old you were, Emma, the first time you seen it?
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe like 9, but it was like a home movie thing. Like my older sibling was watching it, and I kind of like snuck in and started watching it. But I had no idea and couldn't even really comprehend at the time what that really meant.
Right. And it's one of those things that, especially with a movie like The Blair Witch Project, where it's a found footage film, you go from watching, Toy Story to watching The Blair Witch Project. And that is quite the jump in genre of movie. And with The Blair Witch Project, there's always this open-endedness to this movie. I wasn't a fan of Blair Witch Project 2, but I was a fan of the newest one, the Blair Witch Project that they just did a couple of years ago. I thought that was pretty good.
Wait. You're not a fan of Book of Shadows?
I'm not.
I love Book of Shadows so much.
See, I don't know. To me, it's just like, maybe it's because it's more Hollywood than the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, for sure.
There's
It's
something
very
about
different.
that movie.
I get that.
Yeah, it is definitely different. And now again, I don't hate the movie, but it's just one of those movies that I watched it. It didn't really do nothing for me, and so that was it. But I think the ambiguity of the first one. Have you seen the Blu-ray with all the alternate endings on it?
No, I haven't seen all the alternate endings. No.
They are available on YouTube. I strongly suggest you check them out because one fan theory that goes around is that the guys were doing all this to kill Heather. They were taking her out to scare her and kill her.
Yeah.
These deleted endings will prove that is not the case. So I don't want to spoil anything, but you should definitely check out those deleted scenes. Now, in a movie that has so many iconic scenes, I mean, this movie pretty much is between Scream and the Blair Witch Project. That's the reason Scary Movie was made, to parody these two movies. That's the impact that this movie had. There's a lot of iconic scenes in the Blair Witch Project, Emma. Which scene would you say impacted you the most?
I think, I mean, like the whole, it's so hard to say there's a scene in the Blair Witch because it's like the whole film, it flows so freely because it is found footage. But definitely like when they, one of the panic scenes in the woods where Heather has the camera in her face, and that's like, I guess, the iconic, what you're talking about, the Scary Movie scene. But I don't think that like Scary Movie is the best legacy that
right,
for sure.
I mean, okay, look, when this movie came out, anytime anybody had a video camera, the first thing they did was go, I'm so scared right now.
Yeah.
Everybody did that every time they had a video camera. I think that's so funny. And this movie, another thing that people often forget about this movie is how truly dark this movie is. Like you have the one scene where they're getting in the fight in the woods because of the map, and you find out that he actually threw the map in the water. And at this point, you're like, what the fuck is happening with these people? This is absolutely terrifying. And I have people that tell me, oh, well, the Blair Witch isn't even that scary. And I'm like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Like the impact this movie made, I really compare this movie to The Exorcist, because the way that people were leaving the movie after they had seen this in shock and awe. And I don't think we'll ever have a film as impactful as The Exorcist or the Blair Witch Project in cinema again, because of the way that people read everything on the internet. So that, to me, that's why this movie is so iconic and so amazing. When you think, Emma, of the Blair Witch Project, what would you say the first thing that pops into your head is?
I mean, the marketing for sure. I think it's super interesting the way it came together, as you're saying. And it's just terror. It really is terror. But also the scene at the very end with him standing in the corner, I think is like something that was really interesting, because there's so much ambiguous endings in films nowadays, but it's never really quite the same thing where they plant a seed and you really don't even, I think some people didn't even pick up what was going on at the very end because they plant that seed so early on about someone facing the wall. So I think it's just so clever, and it's so like the simplicity of it is just what makes it.
Absolutely, 100%. Because when you see him standing in that corner, your heart just drops. You're like, you feel it, and then the camera falls, and it's just a terrifying thing. And like for me, this right here, the sticks is something that always scared me so bad. And when they get to the scene when you first see him and the sticks are all over the place, like that's so brilliant because it's so simple, but it's so terrifying.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's so interesting to have like that kind of marketing on top of that with a symbol that really, no one can see those kind of like bundle of sticks. And it's quite terrifying as they did in the Blair Witch, but it's also like a symbol for the film. It's pretty interesting. Like they've just got such great marketing, so many different aspects that really symbolize that film.
So did you watch the newest sequel reboot?
Yeah, actually, I have some sticks myself. Wait, let me see if I can show you. Right here. Wait, you can probably see the reflection.
Yes.
See that? That's actually from that film. So it's
awesome.
Yeah. It's from the remake or the reboot, I guess.
I loved it. I loved how they went back to Heather's younger brother going out there trying to find her. If you guys haven't seen it, I would strongly suggest checking it out. It's either on Amazon Prime or Shudder at the moment, but it's definitely worth the watch. It's a very fun watch. I enjoyed it very much. So we talked about, Emma, what your scene impacted you the most, but what would you say your favorite scene from the Blair Witch Project is?
That's so hard. I guess I mean, yeah, it might be the one where he's in the corner is probably it for me. Yeah, I don't know. Like the whole thing, it's just like such a free flowing kind of film. So it's really hard to put into words what my favorite scene is, because it's just like the whole feeling that kind of builds gradually and the tension that builds gradually during it. I like the feeling that it gives you.
And you talked about how you're a big fan of psychological horror and horror thrillers. that's the Blair Witch Project. You know, like your first horror movie is totally what you love. And I think that's so amazing. So Emma, we talked about your first horror movie being the Blair Witch Project and how that movie affected you. But now here for a second, I want to go scream on you here. What's your favorite scary movie, Emma? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
I find this question's so hard because I think I have like a top 10. But I would definitely say one movie I always talk about is Pet Sematary, the original, obviously. I just love that movie. And what's interesting about that is obviously I love Stephen King, but the book is my favorite Stephen King book, but it's my favorite in a different way, if that makes sense. Like they're completely different and I like them for completely different reasons. They have different meanings. Which is quite rare for someone's favorite book and favorite movie to be the same one, like adaptation, I guess, with Stephen King. But Pet Sematary is definitely one I always go back to. I absolutely love it. But I mean, there's several. I love The Ring. I love Martyrs. Like, there's just so many. It's too many to choose from.
And it's funny because I love the shock that people get because you're right. It really is hard to pick your favorite horror movie because we have different ones that we love for different reasons. Like you bring up Pet Sematary. I just recently released a top 10 horror movies that made me cry episode, and Pet Sematary is on there. That movie is so powerful. And the thing that I love about Pet Sematary, and this is going to fit so well with the shirt, I love how much the Ramones are on that soundtrack. And, growing up as a punk rock kid, I love the Ramones, and my favorite Ramones tune of all time is Pet Sematary. Wow. I love that song. I'm not a big fan of a couple of the covers I've heard, but the Ramones version of that song I think is absolutely brilliant. And I'll tell you this, the scene with Victor in that movie, any scene that had Victor in Pet Sematary, the ending scene where he's carrying his wife and Victor's like, don't do it. And he walks right through him and he's like, it just happened a little bit ago. It's going to be different this time. Like that scarred me as a kid. I don't know what it was, but when he just walks through Victor and he's still carrying her dead body, like that fucked me up so bad as a kid. Like that scene, I think it's one of my top 10 favorite cinematic scenes ever. Like that scene is so powerful to me. And I'm so appreciative that I got to talk about Pet Sematary a little bit because that doesn't get to happen very often with me.
I feel like it's a very acquired. I think some people look at it and they find it quite cheesy, especially with Ellie, like the acting of the little girl. A lot of people, that's what I get. I hear a lot of people point out that they just don't like it, but I think she's actually pretty realistic. And obviously the scene with the sister is so creepy, but it also that's the whole idea of it is you're kind of seeing it through the lens of a child and trying to understand death and sickness, and there's so many different aspects that people don't really think about in that film. They kind of take it face value, but it's it's really, really disturbing. And Stephen King wrote this about the worst thing that could ever happen to a parent. I mean, minor spoiler alert. So it's pretty much the darkest film there is, but people just don't see it like that because the little girl's always screaming about something.
And you're right. People got to remember that little kids deal with death a whole lot different than we do. And I'm with you. I don't mind Ellie, and there's a lot of that movie, Zelda, the never get out of bed again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of this movie as a kid that is so, so terrifying. This is a very, very scary film. And Stephen King to me has always been really hit or miss. Don't get me wrong. I love Stephen King. He's a horror god.
I totally agree.
The guy, but with his films, especially a lot of the adaptations that have been done by different people, it's hit or miss. But Pet Sematary is one that I think I could always go back to and watch. And funny enough, that was my wife's first horror movie. So that movie has a very special place in my heart too, because of that. So Emma, we did talk about your first horror movie and your favorite horror movie. But before we leave here, we're going to go back to the Blair Witch Project, and we are going to rank this movie on a skull count, 0 being the worst, 5 being the best. Now, I know that you are a Rotten Tomatoes critic, but we're not being critics here. We're not judging this on production, score, lighting, acting. We're judging that strictly on what this movie means to you and how much this movie affected you. So Blair Witch Project, I think I know the answer, but I got to ask you, Emma, 0 to 5 skulls. What would your ranking of the Blair Witch Project be?
5 skulls. Definitely.
I totally figured. And since this has now become a trilogy, I can officially ask you You got Blair Witch, you got Book of Shadows, and then you got the new reboot. Out of the three, which one is your favorite?
Oh, the original for sure.
Okay. I always, whenever we do anything that has 3 movies or more, once it becomes franchisable, I always ask people what their favorite is in the franchise. And so I just had to ask you that. This has been so amazing. And I want to remind everybody, like I said at the top, like I said at the middle, I'm going to say it again at the end. I have all her social media links down here in the description, as well as her YouTube channel. So please make sure you're following her on social media. Make sure you're subscribing to her YouTube. I promise you, you will not regret it. I like to give updates on my guests whenever they're doing something awesome, but you don't have to wait for me because you can get it the minute that she posts it. So make sure you're checking her out. Emma, don't go anywhere, please. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching. Keep talking horror. Stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.